Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever for a 1v1 match on the 1v1 ladder played on the Torn Desert map. Let's go ahead and get right into player introductions, starting with the blue player over on the left and ending with the red player on the right. And we find ourselves looking at a blue UEF going first land by the name of Ayahuasca_Dest. And he is rocking the western side of the map as we go ahead and look at the eastern side of the map with a red UEF. So UEF versus UEF mirror matchup. It is, of course, Alexander Berlin as he builds his first and second mechs, and then we can take a look at the map. I really like 1v1s for a silly reason. They are much easier for me to cast because I don't have to do as much work in editing. Yeah, completely selfish reasoning. Also, I need to remove this mod. I almost never use it, so I'm just going to put that up there. And let's go ahead and see 5.8 thousand reclaim, a 10 by 10 kilometer map. This is being casted live on YouTube, which I'm going to try and do a little bit more of. We've casted a bunch of games today, and we're going to cast this one as well. And of course, what we're looking at today is a UEF versus UEF mirror matchup that goes the distance. So make sure to grab yourself a drink, grab yourself something to eat, and let's look at the map. We, of course, have two civilian kind of areas, no aggressive structures or units, so these civilians won't really affect anything other than just getting extra reclaim. Early Mech Marine out from Alexander Berlin, not going to be of too much consequence as it's running right into the UEF commander of Ayahuasca. And of course, we have to look at the avenues of attack. There's a lot of choke points on this map, so pushing forward is going to be very difficult if one of these players decides to firebase. But at the other hand, there is a lot of land area and a lot of avenues of attack, so flanking and getting around and getting run-bys is going to be a very, very prominent part of this match. There's not a whole ton of mexes, so these players, they're going to be on low economy for quite a little while. There are a few safe ones, and you probably can get up to some T2 economy pretty early if you really try and rush it, but you gotta keep in mind all the economy you spend on upgrading your economy is economy they could spend on tanks, and tanks win games, so that's something to keep our eye on. Before the action kicks up, I'd like to invite you to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. You are so helpful when you do either of those two things. The like button helps YouTube know that more people want to see content like this, and the subscribe button gives you notifications so you can show up to more videos. Hit the like button and maybe even get notified when I stream, because I'm not on a schedule. So we have a scout and air finished up for both sides. A bomber coming out from Alexander Berlin. Alexander Berlin has been very aggressive early on. Mech Marines, bombers, going for all of the harass, whereas Ayahuasca has been a bit slower. I mean, he's even expanding a little bit slower, trying to make things happen. Bomber going to pick up one of these engineers. Scorcher with its damage over time, managing to get the kill after the fact. The other engineer there doesn't manage to die, though, very unfortunately. There's three engineers in a line right here. It's a Scorcher's wet dream. And unfortunately, it's going to end in a very opposite of wet, fiery death for one of those three engineers. And this engineer that skirted death the first time doesn't get so lucky the second time. 3 engineer kills so far, and more are going to be on the way. And these 2 engineers are the next on the docket. That's going to be, ooh, man, they managed to get away. Ayahuasca getting out with the fancy feet. Almost like those cats' food, fancy feast. It's fancy feet out over here. But the bomber gonna pick up 2 more engineers, and that gives it the rank of veterancy, which means it might... Nope, it won't survive another shot from Interceptor. But hey, 5 engineer kills is no bad start for a T1 bomber out from Alexander Berlin, and he's expanding faster, which means that overall he's sitting on a higher economy. Reclaim-wise, he's very neck and neck with Ayahuasca, both sides doing well on getting their reclaim. And over here to the west, Mech Marine going to be able to pick up another engineer if it so pleases. And that's going to be more engineers dead for Ayahuasca. All of this early harassment is really paying off. And no, the engineer commits murder. It's a battle engineer. It reclaims the enemy Mech Marine. And with that, the early game well underway. I would say that Ayahuasca is struggling a little bit more, but does have his own bomber out, has managed to pick up a kill. Believe that was on to an engineer, probably the engineer trying to get this mechs, as I don't see another engineer around here, and it's obviously not grabbed all the mechs in the area. So that is something to keep our eye on. Down here to the south, we of course have some strikers out from Ayahuasca. He's going to try and kill off the enemy striker and the enemy snoops. Those damned motorcycles with radar. You ever think about that? They strapped a radar onto a motorcycle. And a gun. I mean, it's not your standard motorcycle. Like, that's the widest wheelbase ever imaginable. But, like, it's still a motorcycle. As we look to the middle of the map, lots of units expanding for Berlin. Even managed to throw up a PD here in the middle. And just seems to have more going on. He's very good in this early game so far. Gonna be very surprised if we don't see him go damage and range. It feels like this is a game where he goes damage and range, and he just goes balls to the wall early aggression. Whereas Ayahuasca has already gotten a T2 mechs. He's playing the slow game. He's playing the long game. He wants macro. He's not all about this micro. He's not Micro Jordan. He's not in here for the individual unit battles. What he cares about is building more units and blindly throwing them at the enemy because, like... who is it? What's the quote? The quote is something like, he's like Lord Farquaad. Many of you will lose your life, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Exactly what he's trying to do right here. And down to the south, we of course have strikers coming out. They're going to be getting more kills. The economy is just going to kind of struggle a little bit for Ayahuasca. He has T2 mexes, or at least one of them, but he's still behind because the T1 mexes are just so much cheaper, and you get a lot of mass for what you pay for. So very, very interesting start here for both sides, and a lot more air factories going online right now for Ayahuasca. Maybe wants to get into the air game, maybe start using bombers to be a stopgap for his lack of land units, because he still seems somewhat behind. Although Alexander Berlin is kind of doing something weird. He's trying to get harassing run-bys, but it's starting to become a little bit of a liability over a good idea, because he's starting to split his army off into bite-sized pieces for his enemy just to chew on and eat and kill. Whereas it seems Ayahuasca is much more happy to try and group up large groups of units instead of trying to do this little run by a couple units here, a couple units there kind of thing. Down to the south, a striker and a Lobo, or two strikers and a Lobo. Going to be able to pick off probably another T1 mechs. And T1 mechs are just constantly being rebuilt for Ayahuasca. Has he managed to get another T2 mechs, or has he even started an upgrade for one? No, not quite yet. He's not going for the scaled economy yet, just went for the one T2 mechs to try and be a stopgap for his lack of map control. And down to the south, we have a lot of units kind of just conglomerating here for Ayahuasca that are going to slowly kill off these units out for Alexander Berlin. There's also some bombers in the air, these Scorchers. Air control almost entirely now in the hands of Ayahuasca. Earlier on, he got air later, but now he just has complete air control. And these bombers, Scorchers, are really, really good. He's going to be able to use those to get some damage done for sure. But right now, Alexander Berlin up to 2 T2 mexes. He's on a stronger economy. Damage and range, I called it earlier. And here it is coming onto that commander. Let's go ahead and check the reclaim numbers. 3.4 thousand for Ayahuasca versus 2.2 thousand. And that is a very, very interesting situation here in the middle. Sorry, lost my train of thought. You know, whenever you cast a whole bunch of games back to back to back, your mind goes a little bit numb. It's like the brain fog that players get when they're an hour into a match. But Alexander Berlin, they paused, but we paused for no one, walking forward with the gun comm. And I have been told that this is how you get to 1400 1v1 ladder by many players, is you build gun comm and you walk at the enemy. And Alexander Berlin is doing exactly that, and he has a lot of units in the area. And he's trying to just burst down Ayahuasca. His commander is only firing at Ayahuasca. Ayahuasca down to 7,000 HP. His own units are trying to respond to protect. He has a bunch of Scorchers in the area trying to help out. The comm of Alexander Berlin decides to change its targeting up. For some reason going for a factory. Factory really not the best choice right now for him. And the fight is going to continue. And right now the biggest threat to Ayahuasca other than his gun comm is losing 5 land factories. He can't afford to do that. He is living on minimum wage right now. He's paycheck to paycheck. He needs the factories. He needs the means of production. He's a communist, which is weird because he's playing UEF. But, of course. Oh, man. Alexander Berlin. Very happy with this situation. There's a lot of units, but there's also a lot of Scorchers and a large army from the north coming in to try and bail out Ayahuasca. And all of these units showing up, Alexander Berlin's going to be pushed off. T2 has started up for Ayahuasca. And you know what? You know what's really good at dealing with gun comms? Triads. You get enough of them, and the gun comm is no longer an issue. Now with all these Scorchers constantly going to be able to pour damage into this comm of Alexander Berlin, he's going to have to fall back to somewhere where he has AA, and there's just so many more units for Ayahuasca. There's just so many. The Scorchers are really paying dividends here, I feel. I mean, they've only really been focusing on the commander, but that was enough to get the commander to start falling back. And he had enough units spread out across the map that he consolidated and he collapsed on this position with all of his units and he protected it. But now the issue is the critical issue of FAF. It's not about how many units you have, it's about how many you can replace them with when they die. And they do inevitably die. And right now, Alexander Berlin has a higher economy, which means he's replacing his units with more units than Ayahuasca can. On top of that, Ayahuasca is just going to lose a bunch of land factories, which is going to be very unfortunate for him. He's now going to start triad creeping out of his own main base because that's his only really recourse in this situation. All of his bombers that were harassing the comm of Alexander Berlin now dead. And T2PD is kind of his only friend in this land. Very unfortunate. More T2 mexes have gone online, but they're really he's just behind economically. There's no other way to put it. He is behind and by a lot, and T2 land is now finished up for Alexander Berlin, and for some reason, not opting for a T2 engineer to get T2 power or anything, not opting for pillars. He just has a factory that builds Lobos real fast. I think that might be a mistake, or maybe he forgot. He does stop production of the Lobos, but doesn't start production of anything else. Interesting. None of these other factories going T2, so I'd really want to see what he wants to start building out of that. If he builds Mongoose, then I'm calling it now, he loses the game. I know Icy sent me this replay. I don't know what happens. Haven't really watched it too closely. And I know that it's a long one, but I don't believe in Mongoose. Mongoose are the UEF. They're one of my least favorite units. Screw Mongoose. I can't think. My brain is all fried. But you're here for some good FAF battles. Some good games for the fans. And this is going to be one of them. And the Triad Creep. Well, it's living up to his name. He is a creep. And it's going to move forward. Bit by bit. Slowly. Approaching that commander of Alexander Berlin, who's also going for T2. Seems as though he wants to fight triads with triads. I feel like whenever you're in a mirror matchup, it's just this really funny thing. It's either you have players who are playing pick ban, like, oh, you use triads, so I can't use triads, or you used a T1 land spam, so I can't do that. No, or you have players who are like, oh, hey. He built triads. That's a good idea. And I think these players are the players who see what the other one's doing. They're like, oh, right, that's a thing. Because now he's getting damage in range. He saw damage in range on the enemy commander. He's like, oh, yeah, that works. And he's getting a bunch of T2 mexes. But unfortunately for him, Ayahuasca, he's blind. He's very blind. And very soon he's going to run into a situation where his blindness is going to cost him dearly. He needs to deal with this. This is too many units. And in the middle, now we have Triad firebasing. And we have a lot of reclaim coming out for Ayahuasca. And Ayahuasca is now ahead economically, but I think that's most likely due to a power stall. Ooh, a nasty power stall at that. As he's trying to build his T2 Pigeon. Needs to pause the factories if he wants the T2 Pigeon. But not quite going for those yet. The Triad War is continuing that buzzkill. Well, luckily it's dying. I love the buzzkill. It looks really cool. I like Gatling guns. Gatling guns are some of the coolest things ever. And they look cool. Who doesn't like 6 barrels or more? You know what? Who am I to judge? 5 barrels? 3 barrels? 100 barrels? I don't care. Your Gatling gun can have as many barrels as you like here at Willow Industries. And Ayahuasca, he still doesn't have radar, so he doesn't know how dangerous this is. But it's very dangerous. And in the middle, Ayahuasca is fighting Alexander Berlin, and he has more HP. This Alexander Berlin sent all of his units away, but he is getting triads set up behind this. And Alexander Berlin might be in a rough position here. Oh, there's 2 triads. There's a 3rd on the way. Ayahuasca has to run away. And his base is now under threat of just being turned into mincemeat. It's going to be very holy. I don't think mincemeat has holes in it, but does mincemeat have holes? Find out here at 6. As over here in the base of Ayahuasca, we have a very nasty infestation of red strikers and lobos, and those aren't supposed to be there. And this is looking brutal. He's going to try and throw up a bunch of triads. And honestly, right now, Alexander Berlin just has he has the run of the mill. He has the map. It's under his control. But Ayahuasca he's holding out. He is very resilient, to say the least. And the triad spam came up in time to deal with most of this. Unfortunately, this one striker might come down here and kill off one of the very few T2 mexes that Ayahuasca does have. And if that happens, it's very sad. The air production is about to be in the history books more than in the present day modern events category of the library. And these players, they're continuing to fight it out. Ayahuasca, to his credit, I feel a lot of players would have control K'd by now. But he is still in it, and he is tenacious. He is fighting it out. But he's going to have power issues very soon, if not already. Because he's built a lot of pigeons kind of spread out everywhere, but yeah, he's lost a whole bunch as well. Sorry for the cough there. I'll try and remember to edit that out in editing, but my throat is kind of thrashed right now, so I might be coughing a little bit. And yeah, we are in the midst of a game, 17 minutes in. Alexander Berlin in a very strong position, although hasn't continued to scale up his eco as heavily as I would. I think I would have gone for much more T2 by now, as far as mexes is concerned. But he does have a decent number. Like, these 3 would have been on my list already. Like, yep, those 3. This one is getting T3. And that's a lot of reclaim. Say nothing else, but Ayahuasca is ahead in reclaim by a lot. And he's only behind in total mass generated this game by about 3,000, which is keeping it relatively even. And tactical missile launchers coming online en masse. Ayahuasca deciding, well, if he's going to be able to eco like this, and I killed the buzzkill, why not kill off his entire base? Let's ruin this man's whole career. And you know what? I'm behind this. Let's go, Ayahuasca. Show me what you got. If you forget about these and don't fire them until he's built TMD, I will be very upset with you, Ayahuasca. I will write you a scathing letter. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, it can't load. He doesn't have the mass. Well, ain't that unfortunate. Yeah, I think maybe 1 tactical missile launcher assisted was better than 3. Is he going for the snipe? Is he going to try and snipe the commander that's sitting there on an upgrade? What upgrade is that dude even getting? He's getting shield. Well, he's going to start walking forward. I don't know the play here. He has 1 tactical missile loaded. I would go for the base. I'd kill off this power generator. Or any of the T2 mexes that are in range. And Alexander Berlin still doesn't know about the tactical missile launcher. Or the 3 of them. And he's on an upgrade. It's paused. He paused the shield upgrade. Oh, that's good. This... Oh, he's going to go for it. Up here to the north, more units streaming in, but now there's pillars to deal with them. There's a lot of reclaim going on for ayahuasca deaths. I can speak, I swear. I took English classes. Alright. So does he think that 3 tactical missiles... I mean, they will. Does he think those will kill Alexander Berlin? And Alexander Berlin knows now about them, and he immediately starts moving the commander. Okay, now is the time, now's the time. You don't go for the snipe anymore. He started moving the commander, and you can tell he moved the commander, and you could... No, you don't go for the snipe. You just start killing every mechs you can. You have 3 tactical missile launchers. You've invested in them. You gotta go for it. This is what you gotta do. Oh. Damn. Well, now you have to reclaim them, or you have to go for mexes, and unfortunately you've given a lot of time to defend against it. You can hit all the core mexes. Go for it. Go for it right now. There's no TMD. You can do it. You can do it. Oh no, a Lobo. Come on. No. Oh, don't you dare tell me this Lobo is going to kill off a TML. Oh, it's going to get it. Oh, it's going to get it. Oh, no, it doesn't. Fire at the core mexes. Fire. Damn it. He's built buzzkills now. Ah! Oh, man. That was... Oh man, ayahuasca is really good at disappointing me. That was quite potentially the most depressing waste of mass I've ever casted. And I've casted some stinkers as far as waste of mass goes. Oh man, that broke me. That was not... okay, we gotta get back into it. We have a large contingent of pillars, a brigade, a detachment over here. That was... That's good. That's good. Keep doing this. Stop with the... Never build a tactical missile ever again, ayahuasca. Or, like, take some notes from Icy. Because it's... it's not fun to watch. I know that you probably don't play FAF to get casted, but you gotta think of the viewership when you're playing these games. You never know. You never know when your failures are gonna be broadcasted to thousands of people. And Shield is gonna finish up for Berlin. He really wanted that upgrade, and now he's gonna go for it. I'm surprised they didn't say anything. I'm surprised. I would have said something. I would have been an absolute shitlord if I was Alexander. I would have been like, nice TMLs, bruh. Oh, man. So, the pillars up to the north are going to be very effective. For some reason, Alexander Berlin doesn't really believe in pillars. Like, I don't think I've seen him build a single one. But he's built shields and flapjacks and skyboxers, parashields, like... He's built all the supporting units. He's a vegetarian. He's built the broccoli, he's got the carrots, he got the potatoes, but he didn't have any meat. You need the meat and the potatoes. He only got the potatoes reference. He only got the potatoes memo. He didn't get the memo for building the beef, which is of course the pillars. And now he's doing it, but like a little bit late. Both of these players, I don't know why I'm criticizing them so heavily. I probably don't beat either of these players in a 1v1. Like, on average. Like, maybe 3 out of 10 I'll take off of them. But up here to the north, that's a lot of pillars. And they are pushing in to kill off a T2 mech, and that's going to be good value, as the mass totals for the first time in a long time seem as though Ayahuasca is caught up and maybe surpassed Alexander Berlin, but Alexander Berlin's already starting with capping his mexes. He's moving on to the next stage. Don't know why these are still T1. They should be T2, but they aren't. And the middle is just flapjack. Like, they got more flapjacks than a freaking IHOP here in the middle. Look, so freaking many. Over here making Waffle House jealous. This is going to be the thumbnail. And in the middle, right underneath all the missiles, I'm going to put the International House of Pancakes logo. Down to the south, we have a bunch of strikers running into a bunch of pillars. And it seems whoever builds a bunch of pillars and just throws them somewhere is winning right now. Wherever they go and do that, they win. And, yeah, down here, a bunch of strikers and Lobos dying to a bunch of pillars. But unfortunately, the strikers, the pillars are going to sit still and die to flapjacks. Interesting. And that is... all these pillars have veterancy. This is the elite Panzer division. As in the middle, Alexander Berlin, he built up that shield upgrade and he's damn well gonna use it. A Ravager was on the way. T3 has been finished up for Ayahuasca. Ravager is on the way. I don't think is gonna finish anytime soon. The T1 PD now being spammed up. If Alexander ever stops moving for more than like 5-6 seconds, he's gonna eat a bunch of flapjack fire. And Ayahuasca is somehow winning the fight. Like, he's taken no damage on his commander, and Alexander Berlin is about to lose his shield. Ayahuasca didn't lose. And he could reclaim all these buzz kills and build this Ravager if he felt like it. And now Ayahuasca's going to send all of his T2 units to the middle because he's worried about Alexander. And he's going to forget that there was like an entire... He doesn't... Listen, I get it. I get it. It's very difficult for people to live without object permanence. And Ayahuasca, he's drinking Ayahuasca, and it's obvious he no longer has it. Yeah, pulls all of his units out of position just long enough for Alexander to get a run by that's going to run into a whole bunch of his T2 mexes. I am so brutal this cast. Listen, if I'm doing a casting stream, you do not want to be the last cast, because apparently I just get savage. To either of the players in this game, you're beautiful, and I'm sorry. But it's much funnier if I rail into you. Oh, man. As these T3 mexes now under threat, T1 PD gonna be spammed up, Scorcher doing its best, but its best really isn't enough. And some T2 mexes are gonna go down for Ayahuasca. But Ayahuasca seems to just have more T2 mexes, but less mexes overall. And wait, only one T2 mex is going to go down, maybe. No, none of them do. He lost one mass storage. You know what? That was actually a pretty good trade. He got a bunch of reclaim. The lack of object permanence helped him quite a little bit. And that's a Ravager. I also love how he built the Ravager in this little, like, defilade here. So the Ravager has, like, some more protection. It's like walls without needing walls. That crater. Is there a crater on the other side? Why isn't there a crater over here? Was the crater covered over by the, by buildings? That's unfair. Why does one side get a crater and the other one doesn't? I want a crater. If I'm on this side. I'm a crater creator, don't you know? I'm all about those craters. That's what I create content for. So, with the Ravagers, that's going to be quite important to Alexander in particular. It's going to be quite important to deal with that. He's trying to build Clink Hammers as a response. Unfortunately, not the greatest response here, as it just takes a couple of shields and a stealth gen to help you out there. And at the moment, we're just waiting. Oh, he got that. That buzzkill is very dead. Fun fact. Is that forward Ravager able to hit the artillery? No, not quite. But he's gonna Ravager creep. And I don't think Alexander has a response to this other than the obvious one of fall back. There's nothing of value here. Or just build spearheads, because there's like no... There are buzzkills, but buzzkills don't deal with spearheads very well. Spearhead, a very underutilized unit. Maybe we'll see a bunch of them out of these players. After all, they are flapjack enthusiasts. And with T3 land finished up for Alexander Berlin, it's starting to look a little bit upsetting for our boy Ayahuasca, because sure, he's gonna Ravager creep, but I don't know what you're gonna do once you can't Ravager creep enough to deal with Percivals on the other flanks, or even Titans. Honestly, Titans are the call here. I don't know why he's building Percivals. You build Titans here. Anybody who wants like a tip, want some advice, build Titans here. Don't build Percivals. And Ayahuasca, I think, is in a power stall. Yep, he is. How is he going to fix that? I don't know. He has one T2 Pigeon. He's building another one. Alright. The Ravagers are firing into this fire base. The Flapjacks are starting to get value, because every time a TML, a buzzkill, gets killed off by one of these Ravagers, the Flapjacks get a lot more value. And Ayahuasca Dest is now going to start moving forward with that gun and T3 comm and try and get some damage down onto the shield with that itself. And if the shields start dying, this gets very scary for Alexander Berlin, because this position falls very quickly. And the Percivals just aren't going to do good into a large T2 force. He needs Titans. Why are you building Percivals instead of Titans? I want an explanation for this. There are Demolishers coming out to try and mitigate the Ravager creep. But now he's killed off enough PD, and there's not really enough units in the area. All these units just get to push in, and they're going to kill off all the shielding. And once the shielding's down, the Flapjacks are just going to destroy whatever's left. The forward Ravager getting the artillery. Alexander Berlin's comm isn't really going to be under threat, but this entire base is pretty much gone. And it's looking rough now for Alexander here in the middle. And he is slowly getting pushed back further and further, and this is a huge reclaim field. And this reclaim field is almost entirely going to be in the hands of Ayahuasca. Because Ayahuasca, fun fact, has a bunch of Ravagers around here and a bunch of Triads, and Alexander no longer does. Alexander trying his damnedest to hold out here. He wants to hold this position. But what happens when another Ravager comes online? And now there's 3 Ravagers firing into his comm. That means his shield is going to last about another 5 seconds before it's gone. Just constant fire flowing into that commander. And now triads are going to add on to that damage. This is a lot of damage stacking up very quickly onto Alexander Berlin's comm. It's getting to the point where soon he won't be able to sustain being here any longer. Hell, it's getting to the point where these pillars are a real threat to his life. And down here to the south, a bunch of pillars out from Ayahuasca are going to push forward. Yet again, I don't understand the Percivals. They're just not mass efficient into this. And he's not building enough and getting a critical mass enough of them to just deal with the issue. Up here to the north, a bunch of pillars coming in to try and fight Percivals. And yeah, the Percivals are killing some of these pillars, but whenever you get mass for mass there, the pillars are going to win. And I mean, I know that's true for all T2 versus T3 units, but it's especially true for the Percival. They get worse the less HP their enemy has. In fact, Mech Marines would be a very good play into Mass Percival. And now the Ravager creep is just continuing to go forward, and one thing I'd love to see is if he starts reclaiming the Ravagers in the back. Reclaim the Ravagers in the back to build new ones on the front. And you got yourself a very nice inchworm effect of scooching your way forward with Ravager after Ravager. Up here to the north, the Percivals are going to push forward. And they're going to push forward into a bunch of Scorchers. And Scorchers are pretty good at dealing with Percivals because Percivals don't shoot up. And that's a dead Percival. And another one walking through fire. And a Triad firing at it. Now going to walk into some PD. A very dead Percival. Sure, they maybe killed off some of these mass extractors, but Ayahuasca's been proven time and time again so far that he doesn't particularly care about map control. And he's going to win despite it. And now Ayahuasca is he's just building more Ravagers. He knows what he likes. And he likes Ravagers. We're going to go ahead and just speed this up a tiny bit. We do have some pillars down here in the south starting to push out, trying to gain more map control for Alexander Berlin. That commander of his taking some Ravager fire. His shield is back online. The Percival's going to try and push with him. And T2 air has been achieved. T3 air now on the way for Alexander Berlin. And this Ravager line is very scary. Like, it's legit getting to the point where that shield's going to flick off. And Alexander Berlin has to fall back immediately, otherwise he's just under threat of losing his comm down to 5,000 HP. Oh, the Ravager fire comes in, he has to dodge it. If he didn't dodge right there, he dies. He has to constantly dodge the Ravager fire. He eats some of it there. And Demolishers are still trying to push this back. But this Demolisher is about to die to a Ravager. And most of the Ravagers now have Veterancy, which is quite funny because they're just going to repair. And Alexander doesn't seem to know what he wants to do to deal with this. He's going T3 air. And that might be a good way to just end this. I mean, you know your opponent is still on T1 air. There's no real focus on getting a higher level of air. Ayahuasca doesn't even know that there's an air factory on the other side, other than the fact that there's been some air units. He wouldn't know that there's an air factory if he never saw them. So he's not really going to be prepared for this, but I feel like the second he sees the air, he just starts building SAMs. And that's a lot of reclaim. Ayahuasca at 44,000 reclaim, which keeps him competitive in total reclaim gain or total mass gain to this game. Still behind economically by a not insignificant margin. As multiple T3 mechs is finishing up for Alexander Berlin. And he's trying desperately to make Demolishers work for killing off Ravagers. Tactical missile now on the way for Ayahuasca. I don't understand the logic here, though. I mean, I guess he can hit all of this, but there's a lot of TMD. Unless he's going to go for, like, Billy. Getting his own Percivals online now. Spearheads being built. Very interesting play. Love spearheads. They're very fun to watch. You can see them loading there when they fire. And down here to the south, a large fight breaking out between the units of Ayahuasca and Alexander Berlin. But not going to amount to too much. Let's see that reload animation. Just look at that. Fire? Fire? Come on. Come on. Do it. No. You're disappointing. Oh, one of these will do it. One. Yeah, you can just see those missiles. They're carted out of that thing on the side and into here, which does something or other. And now, yet again, we're seeing Percivals die to a bunch of pillars, which it's just happening for the other team now. The matchmaker is really good, guys. It really does match you. It matches people very closely to their rating. It's not unbalanced. I do love watching 1v1s, especially around this rating range. It's just very funny. I'm not claiming I'd do any better, but it's very fun. The southeast Percival doesn't even kill that pillar before it dies. Sad. And we are yet again kind of sitting in a bit of a stalemate. We have a Strat Bomber on the way for Alexander. Going to speed up until that's out. The Demolisher Spearhead... Well, the Demolisher Spearhead is going very well. Really pushing back the Ravager spam. 77%. We now have Titans. Alexander Berlin building Titans to deal with the low-tech units. I enjoy it. And Ravager is now built up for Alexander Berlin. If you can't beat him, join him. And the Strat Bomber has finished up. Where is it? It's over here. Kind of just sitting off to the side. And up here to the north, one Titan doing most of the heavy lifting, and then occasionally a person will blap something out of existence. And yeah, I mean, we're still just kind of waiting. These players playing a very slow style. Neither side really quite sure how they want to approach the game, it feels. He's gone for T3 air. They both have T3 air now. And the first Strat Bomber to move out is going to be that of Ayahuasca. And where is he going to go is the question. And the answer is north. Don't know what he's going for. Still hasn't dropped a bomb. Still hasn't dropped a bomb. Oh, there we go. Finally, dropping a bomb. First kill, first bomb. Got up 5 kills. About half a rank of veterancy on that. And now going to be able to get more damage done. Needs to just pick targets and right click on them. Seemingly unsure where he wants to send that. He's gonna lose it here soon if he doesn't pay too much attention. It's going to require multiple bomb drops to kill off this mechs. It's going to require 3. Are the ASF scrambled in time? And it does seem as though they are. At least 2 of those bomb drops will happen, and at least kills off the mass storage. But isn't going to be able to manage to kill off that T3 mechs. Down here to the south, Titans pushed through, killed off some T2 mechs. But Alexander's still just so far ahead economically through just having more T3 mechs. But he's struggling a little bit more with the getting damage done side of things. Strat Bomber's coming out trying to do damage over here for Ayahuasca. And kind of getting the damage. Strat Bomber over here going to be used for base defense. Kills off a lot of the supporting army with those Titans. And up to the north, a T3 army out of Ayahuasca starting to make ground up against Alexander Berlin. Strat Bomber's still trying to kill off more and more Titans, more and more of these land units. And broadswords now going to be spammed out by Alexander Berlin. With no T3 Pigeon adjacency on the air HQ, seems as though Ayahuasca's having struggles with having enough power to build from that factory with all of its assistants. And it does seem as though he's sorted that out by now. Over here to the south, Titan fighting up against pillars. Gonna kill off a Cougar. Or no, that's a Skyboxer. And nope, it's not. You're gonna get killed off by the ambassador there. And large land force gonna run into Alexander Berlin's comm, who has 13,000 mass killed. He's a chonky boy. But I don't know if he can really deal with these Percivals. Percivals will be a tough customer, as instead of going for the Ravager creep, we have T2 artillery creep coming out from Alexander Berlin. Both sides know that they're creeps. Strat Bomber comes in, kills off a couple of Percivals. Up to 5,000 mass killed and 1 rank of veterancy. Going to drop another bomb, going to get another Percival. Now up to almost 6,000 mass killed, 1 mass shy. And in comes the bomb, and down goes the Percival. And yeah, the artillery creep I think is slowly working. Somehow, all of the demolishers and the spearheads were dealt with. I'm guessing via Titan, most likely. And now broadswords in the north going to stop any aggression that Ayahuasca did have in a moment ago. But Ayahuasca is now getting a ton of T3 mexes. He only has a few more left to get, and they're up here. And he's going to have more than his opponent. He has a bunch of T3 mexes down here. Has all of the ones in his base. These 3 will put him ahead economically. What is he going to go for? As we crest the 50-minute mark. Air fight breaks out, and all of these interceptors are going to be meaningful in this fight. Needs to continue taking it, does Ayahuasca, because these interceptors are only valuable in the first air fight. And their numbers are relatively low, because every shot that goes into an interceptor isn't going into an enemy ASF. Strat Bomber still out somewhere trying to deal damage. I don't know what happened to it though. I don't know where it went in the end. This mech should be T3. Don't know why it's not. Seems very weird, Ayahuasca having like some frontline T3 mexes and then some very safe ones not T3. But Ayahuasca now ahead economically for the first time in a long time. He's at a 50,000 total mass gained this game deficit. But now he can start clawing back the number the other way. as he's reaching up towards 300 mass a second, and he's going to get there relatively soon. Although just needs to be careful to be able to hold on to the territory he's gained, and he's just building Ravagers everywhere to stop enemy attacks. Oh, I love it. Alexander Berlin just throwing up more and more artillery. And the air fight has dragged on for a very long time, but it seems as though air is just going to end up very even. Neither side's going to have a dominant showing in the air front. In fact, Alexander Berlin may be worse off right now because he just flew over a bunch of enemy territory. And Ayahuasca has a decent T3 army down here, and it's just T2 down here, and he has a lot of Titans. So he could push through and maybe even kill off these mexes in this area. Kill off some of those mexes that I'm still surprised aren't T3 by now. Seems as though they were forgotten about. And Ayahuasca up by 40 mass a second right now. Or no, 30. But that number is still going up. Still has a few T2 mexes to get to T3. And is losing the front line right now. He just lost his Omni. He lost one of his production facilities thanks to the artillery. But the artillery has all been cleaned out. Seemingly by I don't even know what cleaned it out, honestly. No idea. Something. And now we have T3 land pushes coming on both sides of the map right now for Ayahuasca. He's trying to push in, trying to get aggressive. These Titans moving out first are going to be able to deal with these pillars, and the Percivals that come in behind are going to be very strong at killing off structures. So this is going to be a very strong attack. Up here to the north, broadswords are going to slowly put an end to the aggression up there. But there's just a lot of land units over here for Ayahuasca, and now this army is going to push in these T2 mexes, which finally unpaused and now got 50% done on some of them. On their T3 upgrades are just going to die. That's going to be a lot of wasted mass for Alexander Berlin. And Ayahuasca looking to be poised to win this game. He's gained a lead. He's been behind this entire game. He's been a more efficient the entire game with his units. And now is pushing in. It just doesn't seem like, other than this gun comm, Alexander has any points of strength. He does have a nuke launcher, though. He played the long con. He went for standoff technology, and Ayahuasca never saw the nuke. I don't think he has an anti-nuke, which means that this army has to push in, and this army needs desperately to get in here and kill this nuke launcher, but Ayahuasca doesn't know it. He's just going to go for the mass extractors, which I guess works out. If you can get rid of enough mass that this can't load, you buy yourself a lot of time. The Percivals pushing to the south, they're the real threat. And getting rid of power generator there, that's a good play, but strap bombers and broadswords going to come in and put a dampener on that. And while a lot of damage was done, Ayahuasca is going to be completely unaware of that nuke. I'd love to see him throw his scout over right now. He needs to know about it. Alexander almost assuredly stalling mass quite heavily, so that's going to load very slowly. And up to the north, another set of mechs is going to be going down to these land attacks. I don't know why Ayahuasca isn't really trying to use his air. I feel like he has complete ASF domination. Has just decided not to use it. It's a gentleman's sport. I can't use air if that's all he has? That's unfair. And unfair rhymes with air. He's unfair. As the game meanders on, 58 minutes and counting. That nuke seemingly destined to load. The air up here to the north, not quite enough with all of the Cougars and ASF now to stop this push out of Ayahuasca. To think if you just used the ASF aggressively over here, it could have been enough to save him from an impending nuke. But even if the nuke goes off, what's the most that it gets? It gets a T3. It can get a T3 HQ, but now it's scouted. Ayahuasca knows of the nuke. He doesn't know how long it's been there, though. What's his response? Does he immediately build an anti-nuke anywhere? Or is it time to just spam up strat bombers and kill that off? The nuke is loading incredibly slowly. Alexander has stretched his 261 mass about as far as you can stretch it. And now he's having power struggles. And it feels like Ayahuasca should just be able to push in here. I mean, yes, there's Ravagers, but at a certain point, there's not enough Ravagers. And the artillery over here going to slowly kill off what's left of the Ravagers, honestly. Do they just have range to shoot those? They do. I think he's trying to kill that off first. But still, no anti-nuke anywhere. A Fat Boy now on the way for Ayahuasca. I don't think he noticed the nuke launcher. I don't know if he's not looked closely at it in a while. There's a bunch of TML over here. And he's building a bunch of TMD to deal with it. He's seen those, but I don't think he's seen the nuke launcher yet. Or if he has, he just doesn't care. He's like, I'm spread out enough. Dare you to nuke me somewhere where it'll matter. And he's spread out his power generation even to the point where I don't think you can get him critical on power through just a nuke. You can definitely hurt him on power, though. And that would be annoying. Might have to turn off shields and such. Gonna fall back towards his main base. Nothing in chat so far between these players other than the early game. Strategic launch detected. It's going for the HQ. It's gonna kill off 3 Pigeons, but there's already 3 more back here. And Ayahuasca, he doesn't need that many Pigeons. That's gonna be a very, very dead nuke. Or dead base. A very pretty explosion, the UEF explosions always are. And now there's a Fat Boy completed. And yeah, that was a good play, but as I said not so long ago, I don't think it matters. I don't think he could nuke somewhere that was actually detrimental, and he's even going to get T3 land very quickly again. I just feel like this Fat Boy out of Ayahuasca has to push forward with all of his land units, and there's no way in hell that Alexander Berlin can stop it. He's going for the tactical missile snipe onto something. Oh, is he going to get it? Is the terrain here good enough to protect Ayahuasca's comm? Well, it doesn't matter either way. He's going to run away. And they're not even going for that. They're going for power generation. But power generation really isn't that much of an issue for Ayahuasca. I mean, it is, but that's only because of how much mass he is spending. Which he just has so much more mass, over 200 mass a second ahead of Alexander Berlin. And that's during a power stall. Oh wait, no, Alexander Berlin is ahead on mass right now because of the power stall. Okay, I read that wrong. And I don't know why, I don't know what's scaring Alexander Berlin, honestly. Or scaring Ayahuasca, honestly. Like, maybe this scares you, but if you scouted a little bit more, you'd know that's just T1 engineers. He's not really attacking, and also he just has so much air. It feels like at a certain point, just build strats and kill the comm. But since this is all kind of slowing down, let's go ahead and speed up since neither side really wants to take a fight. I understand Alexander Berlin trying to slow down the game, but Ayahuasca not seemingly interested in just pushing forward and winning. Maybe he's going to do it when this fat boy links up with his army. Another nuke is going to be loaded. Like, he's wasting so much time and he's giving his opponent a chance to have nuclear point defense. It's just such... I don't understand the hesitation here. It's 3 or 4 Ravagers. You have enough in Titans to just walk past that. Finally, the attack comes in. And it's gonna be a big one. Right now, that nuke, dangerously close to loading, and if it loads, it's just nuclear PD time. Although at a certain point, you're getting close enough to where the nuclear PD is very dangerous. He just needs to kill the Fat Boy. The Fat Boy is the thing that's going to kill him right here. Doesn't matter if this army pushes forward, there's enough PD being spammed up to save this, but the nuke! Oh no, the nuke! It's going down! The nuke goes down, the power grid is gonna go down shortly after. And Alexander Berlin has managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. The early game looked so good. But that commander is gonna be very dead here soon. You are mad. Oh, Ayahuasca. Ayahuasca took his time there in the end. He played with his food a little bit, but in the end, he had a nice hearty meal to go back to the meat and potatoes that we were talking about earlier. And I think it's time to speed this up. There's no recovering. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to the Patreons and the channel members who are oh so beautiful and help me out so much. It really means a lot, all of your support. If you want to support the channel, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing this video, and of course, if you want to monetarily support me, channel membership and Patreon are the best way. Channel members above the mini dualities tier do get access to every video 12 to 24 hours early, and channel Patreons get their name at the end of every video. You all are beautiful. This is Willow, signing off.
But if I lay down and I play dead